All right, folks, we're live for the weekly live stream. I'm going to wait a couple minutes for everyone to get on. This is going to be a special treat. This is going to be the first roundtable that I've done on this live stream, and we have an awesome panel of gardening experts. And so I'm just going to be the host because I'm mainly just, I move dirt and I pick up heavy things, and my wife does a lot of the gardening at our home. But we've put together an awesome panel, and we're just going to talk gardening the whole time. So I'm going to wait a couple minutes for everyone to join. Let me just check the chat room. That's if you guys could hear me, let me know. That helps me know that things are going. Looks like I see some thumbs up. Let's wait for people to come in the chat room. Cool. We have the Apex Preppers join. Looking forward to coming, building my first planter box. Alpha Prepping. Welcome, Alpha Prepping. Let's give a couple more minutes. I saw Tom Jones. I don't know if it's the real Tom Jones, but Tom Jones is here. It's not unusual. Let's see. I could hear you perfect. That's Lizzie. All right. Dina Martinez. Alpha Prepping. Loud and clear. All right. So again, this is going to be a concept that we've talked about for a while here on a few different streams, especially the Apex Prepper, aka Bionic Madness, aka Bernie. We were talking about doing a roundtable discussions where we get a lot of different prepper personalities that we know from YouTube or we know from online or through books or whatever, and get them all together in a room and talk about a specific topic. And right now we're all in coronavirus time where we're just kind of sheltered in place in quarantine, but it works great for a live stream, and we could talk to people all around the world. We don't have to be in the same room, and we could just focus on one specific topic. So for this week, we're going to do an hour-long roundtable discussion for gardening. And let's just start bringing them in. They're all ready to go. It's kind of like a CNN broadcast right now. And I'm just going to start bringing them in one by one. So this is going to be a blast. So let me start off first with you guys all know Prepper Potpourri. Pepper Potpourri was on the channel a few weeks back, and we started talking a little bit about gardening, and everyone in the chat room started blowing up in the comments in the chat room about gardening topics. And so let's bring in Prepper Potpourri. You guys are all familiar with her. She's been on YouTube for a long time, has some great gardening topics on square foot gardening, planting template, SHTF gardening videos. So let's welcome Mary from Prepper Potpourri. Welcome to the live stream. Hello. Now, you were instrumental in assembling this cast of preppers for this particular roundtable that we're doing here. So thank you for doing that. So, cool. So next up at shooting guard, this is Tori from Permaculture Homestead. A lot of different. I'm excited to learn a lot more about permaculture in this talk that we have over here. A lot of different harvesting basics that he has on his YouTube channel, and let me see if I can put it up really quick on the stream. One second. Sorry, folks, trying to get the right buttons up. There we go. Permaculture homesteading right there. So we're gonna bring on Tori from Permaculture Homesteading. Welcome to the live stream.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's been a blast.
Awesome. All right. You guys all know this particular channel. He has a huge following. He's always cranking out videos. He's been on here for a long time. I've got to meet him about a couple years ago. We got to hang out at SHOT Show recently, and we caused some damage over in Las Vegas, and the warrants are still out, but we're going to bring him in to the live stream. This is Chris from City Prepping.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
All right, let's go for strong forward. We're going to be bringing it. We're super excited about these guests. So this is the Provident Preppers, and this is a family prepper where they recently did a 90-day challenge where they're surviving just on their gardening and their home preps, and they just have amazing videos on their channel. Let me put it over here on the screen really quick. So here we go, the Provident Preppers. So we have bringing them on now. Let's see if that works.
Hey,
we have Jonathan and Kylene. There we go.
Good to see you.
Welcome to the live stream. And then last but not least, we have another prepper channel. This awesome content, not only gardening, but just based, prepping type stuff, SHTF stuff. We have some coronavirus stuff. Let me put a little shout out here on the. There we go. So we have Ethical Preparedness, aka Craig, and we're going to bring him on the live stream right now. So please welcome Ethical Preparedness.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, everybody. Thank you.
All right, we got it working. So this is the first time I've leveraged all, we have 6 people live on this live stream. So I figured for this particular one, for our gardening roundtable, we would just, maybe we could just kickstart it with how some of us got into some of this gardening stuff, and then just take a lot of Q&A from the comment sections. I'm hoping. So those of you that are in the chat room, this is your live stream. Please send away your questions, and we're going to try to answer them as best that we can. And you have a bunch of gardening experts. So ask about raised beds, ask about SHTF crops to grow, you name it. These people, someone in this group is going to know the answer for it. Most likely all of them. So again, thanks everyone for joining on this one. Oh, we lost ethical preparedness. The algorithm shut us down. We'll get them back on. Google does not like gardening. So, I don't even know where to start. Let's see. So, where should we go? I think I'd like to talk to some of the folks I haven't talked to before, like Permaculture Homestead. Maybe we could talk a little bit about what is permaculture homesteading for those of us unfamiliar.
Really, it's the channel name. I utilize permaculture. The major principles are earth care and people care. Permaculture is a design science. Bill Mollison from Australia is the guy that set it up. Jeff Lawton is still alive and kind of keeps the permaculture thing going in Australia. I started gardening for medicinal reasons. I wanted to grow more medicinal herbs, medicinal plants. I was really kind of sick of big pharma. I am a science major. I'm a physical therapist. So I was just interested in the plants medicinally, and that kind of led me to better gardening techniques, which led me to permaculture, and that kind of led me down the rabbit hole of where I'm at right now, 7 years in on a home project and then community projects where I'm really trying to spread the joy, spread the love.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, in your channel, it's just you have a ton of content over there, all specific to this particular topic. So, everyone, that really quick heads up, I've provided links to all of these channels in the description box. Just go to the description box and just subscribe to all of them now. I'm going to remind you multiple times during this live stream that you must subscribe to all of these channels, or you will be banned from my channel. So, so I'm super excited about the Provident Preppers are over here. We have our family preppers. Everyone else, we're all solo here on this live stream, but we have a family of preppers for Jonathan and Kylene, and super expert in gardening. So maybe we could do a quick little introduction with you too then.
Sure. I started gardening at a very young age and I hated it. And so I didn't do a lot. My dad was the county extension agent, and so I should have learned all this stuff, and I hated it. So I never learned it. Now he's dead. And so that was an opportunity lost. But now I understand how critical and how vital it is to be able to grow your own food for the health purposes and for connecting with the earth. But Mama here, Kylene,
love gardening.
She is the expert. I'm just the slave again.
Hey, not being the slave, but talking about Jeff Lawton. So I took his permaculture design course, and it completely changed my view. Now, I don't only use permaculture, right? I kind of take a potpourri of all kinds of different things that work best for me. But that whole food forest and that the security that it creates. And I love how he was so people-centered, because so often you hear people saying, people are the outcast, but he wants to design the systems around people, around social, around making sure that there is an abundance. And so I am a huge fan of Jeff Lawton and his principles. And this year we're working more with Tom Bartels. So taking his class, and it's the bio-intensive gardening. So we're getting more into the worm bins and all that kind of stuff. But I feel so strongly that we need to feed our family, that the food is safer, it is better, it tastes better, and our supply is more secure when we produce it on our own home.
Definitely. That's awesome. You guys recently did a 90-day challenge where you were eating all the stuff from your from garden, right? Okay, we did a great job because we already had so much in place, but it was good to help us identify where our holes were and what we needed to fix just in time for the pandemic to strike. Perfect
so that
timing.
timing was actually really good.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's. We also have Craig from Ethical Preparedness, and you don't just cover gardening type topics, but you cover a wide range of various topics. You want to talk a little bit about your background on how you got into this? Oh, we lost him again. Google is. We'll bring him back again. YouTube does not like this topic. This is super controversial, more controversial than COVID-19 is preppers gardening, because they don't want us being self-reliant. So let's move on to my friend Chris from City Prepping.
Hey.
We come from similar backgrounds where we're kind of in an urban environment, and so we might have a different approach. Although, let me put it's one of my favorite photos of Chris is to where we have.
I'm gonna wear my overalls for you.
Yeah, so so I was hoping that you would wear the hat on this one, but
oh yeah, we just moved and I can't find that thing, but the overalls are sitting around here somewhere.
Yeah, maybe you can talk really quick on your background and experience with the gardening from a prepared mindset.
Yeah, kind of like you were talking about, Jonathan. My dad, growing up, we had an acre and a half, and he put in some pretty big garden beds and got out there and did that. And I was, again, kind of like the labor that he had me do it, so I didn't really enjoy it. He always had me doing all the hard work, but I watched and observed, and so I was able to see him do that whole process. And so a few years ago, we bought some land. Cliff actually got to come over and visit when I lived there, had 5 acres, and started, developing some pretty big garden beds and stuff. We ended up selling and moving a couple of months ago back to suburbia. But through it all, I'm now beginning to put, beds here with the cedar that we bought a bunch of Alaskan cedar, and I had a bunch left over. So we've been putting that in. And, same story again, going through bringing in the compost and the dirt. My wife's actually, she's really taken off with gardening since everything happened with the pandemic. I think she really sees a value in, hopefully having our own food supply. So, and everybody in the group here, I'm definitely the novice. I'm, beginning, and I have so much to learn, but like everybody that's, when I first started, would tell me, just do it, because I always was waiting for something to be perfect. But whenever you got soil, seeds, and sun and water, just, start and you'll learn. And that's what I'm doing right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have the title of the novice in this particular panel because I have my little herb garden and I'm mainly a Sherpa for my wife for carrying big heavy things.
What kind of herbs are we talking about, Cliff?
We'll talk about that offline again. This is controversial, but just stuff that I cook with mainly. But so Craig from Ethical Preparedness, YouTube keeps trying to take us down, but we're going to talk with you. So maybe let's talk a little bit about your background with gardening, just a quick little overview, and then let's just start going with all the questions.
Oh.
All right. So, like I said, it's super controversial.
Wow.
Let's start going through some of the chat room stuff. I had some questions on my own. First, are maybe just to kickstart. Let's see. We got Craig back. Let's see if we can get him again.
One more time.
Craig, I don't know what's going on here, but Google does not like you for some reason.
I'm on some government list, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You have some coronavirus videos, so I know that flags us.
Yeah, everything was good with me until I started talking to Chris from City Prepping, and then I started having all the food stuff happening.
That happened to me too.
I've been gardening only for about 3 or 4 years now. The big thing for me with gardening was I knew I needed to learn how to do it without store-bought stuff, without using store-bought composting and everything like that, where everything that I do with my gardening is pretty much what I can create, again, not buying anything from the store, because if the store's closed down and everything like that, then we'll be gardening like our great-great-grandparents did back in the day. So that's just kind of my thing. I've learned a lot from Prepper Potpourri, so I'm actually very excited to be here on the channel.
Awesome. Well, speaking of Prepper Potpourri, we had her on the live stream a couple weeks back, and so I've been a big fan of hers for years now. And so, Prepper Potpourri, you want to do a quick little overview on your background with gardening?
Well, I grew up with parents who had flowers, but they both came from farms and wanted to get as far away from farms as they could because they considered it really hard work. But then I got married, had kids, and I wanted to know where my food came from. And I joined a community-supported agriculture base at CSA with my youngest, and we worked there. And then when we bought property where we could have our own garden, we did that. And it went from there. And then starting out gardening, and then I realized I had to preserve it. So I had to can, I had to dehydrate and freeze. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I'm a prepper.
That's funny. I think that's how sometimes you don't know. There's not an immediate switch, but then you somehow realize I am a prepper now. I have arrived. I'm just going to start going through the chat room really quick. I'm going to look for questions. So we have prepper agenda. Is coal ash good for a garden?
Yes.
Yes.
Simple answer.
Simple answer. Prepper
Yes.
agenda. Yes, it is.
Okay. But wait.
Okay.
So in my garden, it's bad because my soil is super alkaline. So I have to be very careful about ash. So I think it kind of depends on where you live, but in my garden, it's bad.
All right. So the answer is maybe, depending on your area.
It can be fabulous.
Better answer.
Okay. We have Liam. I am living in a city in a one-room apartment. I was thinking about a raised bed on my balcony. Where should I start?
That's actually something I'm going to hopefully talk about. But Mary, yeah, go ahead. I've been talking
I was
to some
just going
people.
to say, you have to be careful because when you add dirt to a raised bed, it can get very heavy. So you want to make sure what your weight requirements are. I think container gardening is much better. And when Heather comes on, she's done stuff in grow bags and things like that. And I think that's easier to accommodate on a balcony. Anybody else?
Chris, what do you had a?
Oh, I was just saying that's something I've become very interested in. I'm talking to some gardening experts that live in apartments that do that pretty much full time. So something that I'm interested in learning as well, and I'll probably be talking about it on my channel. But yeah, I that's some good insight there, Mary.
All right, we have. Sorry.
I just wanted to add something. Okay, so Toby Hemingway is fabulous, and he talks a lot about implementing permaculture into city designs and doing things like that. And so some of the stuff in his book can definitely work on a balcony or something like that. Yeah, so don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Get started and do a little bit of research.
Let's get if someone in the chat room, if you could throw up a link to that particular book, let's get that in there so people can start ordering it. So let's see. We have Bex 505. I was growing sugar snap peas and they were doing great, but then spider mites got to them. How to prevent or deal with this?
I have never had spider mites on my sugar. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We
compost them.
The answer, Bex, is compost dump, or we're not sure. Good luck.
Soapy water. Soapy water will work if you want to, spray spider mites down. Soapy water will work, but I let bugs and things come in. I understand that it's a part of the natural cycle. I try to grow around it, learn what the pests are in my area. And I also try to learn to grow things that are better suited for my zone. Maybe snap peas aren't something you should be growing where you're at right here, right now.
Cool. All right.
It can also be timing when you start something and make a big difference of what varmints you'll get critters.
So this is from Freedom Tribe. Suggestions for balcony patio gardening in apartments and townhomes. I know this is a big top. A lot of the people, at least on my channel, live in the urban environment and city, and so this is probably going to be a popular topic overall for this stream. So,
and space is a big one. You're going to want to have some sort of space. Yeah, if you're living in a city environment, now you're going to want to be talking about your surrounding environment and community. Where can we grow out in the community to produce food? Because a balcony garden isn't going to produce 100% of the food that you need on a daily basis. Communities living in urban and suburban areas are going to have to branch out and find the woods, what's growing in the wild, what urban scapes can we take out unproductive trees and put in productive things.
Cool. I heard someone else had I forget. I couldn't.
It was me.
Okay.
So if I had a one-bedroom apartment, all I had was an apartment balcony, I think I would really focus in on herbs and stuff like that would provide nutrients and flavors. Because like he said, I mean, you're just not going to be able to grow enough food in what you can on a balcony or something like that. So I think if that's, what your situation is, you want to get as much dried goods or other stuff that will actually give you the bulk of your calories. But then the herbs and stuff like that will provide you flavoring for those foods so you don't get food boredom too quickly, and then also the extra nutrients, because it's I think as gardeners, we all know this, that you can't just eat beans and rice and stuff like that because you need all these different nutrients. So if I lived in an apartment where all I had was a balcony, I would really focus in on herbs and stuff like that would provide, again, flavor and then provide all those extra different nutrients that you need. And then like he mentioned, you know, where else can you go to where you can actually get some more space to grow food? Of course, obviously, you'd have a risk there of other people finding that food that you're trying to grow, but that would be what I would do.
Yeah, that's how I start. What I did too is start off with an herb garden, and then I think I expanded to jalapenos and some other things. But yeah, something small like that. So we have it looks like Izzy. I would like to hear your tips about which plants give the most output. So zucchini, squash, tomatoes. So what are your thoughts on the most output? Okay, there we go. Provident Preppers. You're...
Okay, so I don't care how much a plant puts out if I'm not willing to eat it. So zucchini is great, and I like zucchini a little bit at a time. But if I'm eating it all day, every day, it's just bad. John's favorite? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, same goes with Swiss chard.
Yeah.
I love Swiss chard, and the family likes Swiss chard. But that grows prolifically. I mean, you can just harvest massive amounts of Swiss chard off a little 4x4 plot.
Yeah.
But the family tires of it. So
yeah, so that 4x4 plot can literally more than produce enough for our entire family using the cut and come again process, where you're just cutting off a few leaves and you go back out there, and it is great. When it comes to tomatoes, we have a really short growing season, and so I don't get a lot of production from my large tomato plants. But my cherry tomato plants overall produce much more. But yeah, zucchini squash and yellow squash, wow, there's a lot of output, but it's also not quite as nutrient dense as some of your greens. Your greens are a wonderful choice.
And you guys are in Utah, is that right?
Right.
Yes. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So let's see, we have another one from Rachel Rochelle. What are your thoughts on square foot gardening?
Love it. But
Love it.
I modified.
You modify it into metric or what?
Oh no, I don't understand that metric stuff. No, I don't. You're supposed to have everything actually roped off or whatever for your 12 by 12 squares, and I know where they are, so I'm kind of using square foot gardening. I have my own compost. I'm not necessarily buying the ingredients he said to make your initial square foot garden, but I use a lot of the techniques for the intensive.
Very cool. Let's see, we have the Apex Prepper. There's been arguments on pressure treated wood for planter boxes and raised beds. What should we use? I have pine. Is that good enough? We have the expert panel here. I have no idea.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch pressure treated personally. Go ahead.
Yeah, untreated wood always better.
Because whatever you put there with the soil, you're eventually going to be eating that. So if you want pressure treated food from the chemicals leaching out in time.
Yeah, usually people use cedar.
That's what I use.
Cedar because it even lasts longer. Pine deteriorates rather fast.
I mean, it's expensive, but in the long run, the whole point of this endeavor is to produce your own food that's healthy, that you can grow it yourself, right? So as soon as you throw in treated wood, eventually that's going to leach out. And I personally wouldn't take the risk. I know it's cheaper, but in the long run, you'll pay for it, I suppose.
Yeah, at the store they don't advertise tomatoes featuring pressure treated wood. Tastes like pressure treated wood.
The preservatives are already added in for you.
So the correct answer, the Apex Prepper, is cedar. Please use cedar for this and avoid the pressure treated wood. And pine's not going to last that long. All right, cool. So this is awesome. So keep the questions coming. I'm going to send them up. Rapid fire questioning to our panel of gardeners. Do you have any recommendations where to get heirloom seeds?
Online.
Probably, I'd imagine. Yeah. Is there a particular website that you guys go to?
So I like Johnny Seeds, and then I like Mountain Lands, which is now True Seed. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It is. Anyway, those are two places that are really, really good. Mountain Valley. And so those are two really good places that have quality seeds that I can get heirloom.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up really quick. So let's let me
botanical interests, or where I get non-GMO seeds in South Carolina. I'm in USDA Zone 8, South Carolina. A lot different from a lot of people, but Botanical Interest has non-GMO seeds.
You can grow so much in Zone 8. I'm so jealous.
Yeah. And just, piggybacking off of what you said earlier, I would grow kale and collards because of that cut and come again thing. I can grow them all year in perpetuity. So while I don't eat kale and collards every day, that's one of those more pounds per square foot plant that I'm getting, at least here in Zone 8, South Carolina.
A lot of people use Baker seeds in California for that.
Baker's good.
But, California is not where my stuff is grown. Michigan has a little bit different environment. And sometimes it's good to get seeds from your climate. So Michigan Gardener has started his own business, and he's a great one to get seeds from, too.
Very cool. So I put up a little link to the Mountains Valley Seed one, and I've been to that site as well. Let's see. I also have a link over here for the book that was recommended earlier. Let me see if I can get that up. And let me throw that in the chat room really quick so everyone could get that. So thank you, Chris,
it's such a good book.
Yeah.
It's such a good book.
Okay. Right. I'm going to put that in my list of books to get.
All right. I'm adding it to my wish list too. So, okay, cool. So let me get that off. And there we go. All right. Next question. Let's see. This is from I am Tony J. When making an emergency garden, do you recommend doing the thinning method or trying to make every seed count?
I prefer the thinning method because when I save my seeds from my heirloom seeds, I always get tons more seeds than what I can ever actually use. So because of that, I do prefer the thinning method that way, especially when you're starting your seedlings indoors. You plant. I always do 2 to 3 seeds per little pot, and it's at least 1 or 2 of them, actually do take off. So that's what I prefer.
Okay.
Am I the only one that feels bad when I have to abort with the seeds? It was a nice one. I hate to do this. Yeah.
You feel bad when you're picking the smallest one to get rid of. You feel like
I know the runt. Yeah.
That's funny. That's true. All right. So for those of you that are just joining this live stream, look at all of these guests that we have. We're having a gardening roundtable. All we're talking about is gardening. We have a bunch of preppers on the live stream right now. Spam away in the chat room with questions. With real questions, I'll bring them up and we're going to ask our panel. Also, make sure that you subscribe to all of these channels. I have their links in the description box below. You probably already subscribed to most of them. If you're not, please subscribe or you will be banned from my channel by the end of the stream. So make sure you click that button. So let's see. We have Joel over here. Let's see, Joel. My big concern is GMOs, most seeds. You have to buy the seeds every year. How much of the market still has natural seeds the way God created them for us? Thank you.
I did a video on that last fall, and I mean, I'm sure everybody can pitch in here, but I studied, how the major companies are beginning to buy up the seed market. I think it's in the hands of about 5 major companies, and there's about 30% left where you can get heirlooms. I may be off on that numbers, but it's growing for sure. The corporation takeover of these seeds, and it seems like each year it's getting a smaller group that still produces heirlooms. But be curious what others have to say.
I think if that's the kind of seed you want, you can still get them. That's why I like the Mountain Valley or Johnny's seeds. They are still available, but our best bet is to start growing now and learn how to save our own seeds. Yeah. Because as we do that, then we don't have to depend on the market, and we can definitely take care of our families a little bit better.
Cool. Kylene, every time that I see every question and I see you have the answer almost immediately. Like it's like Ken Jennings from Jeopardy.
I'm just opinionated.
That's pretty funny.
I have a confession to make. I also use hybrid seeds and plants as well as heirlooms. So
and that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay, right? It really is okay, as long as you're not depending on saving those seeds, because sometimes they do produce more.
So you're already talking about the aborting the seeds, and now you're talking about hybrids. The algorithms are finally going to get me, I think. This is not a question, but this says, "Wow, this is epic. Legends are all here." Thank you, This is
that's so sweet.
Let's see. Another one. My apartment window faces northwest. Any tips on how to deal with this and growing things on my patio?
Can I raise my hand again?
Yes.
Okay. And this, I haven't done this yet, but in our experimenting with the grow lights, wouldn't it make sense that you could just change to the daylight bulbs and grow on a north-facing patio? I think you could work that out. So haven't done it, but I'm thinking it might work.
I'm thinking that might be an awesome video for someone. I'm going to pick a mental note and maybe steal it, but there's other people. Feel free, anyone watching this, to steal that idea. I think that's awesome. Let's see. We have Tom Jones. It's not unusual if you plant leaf lettuce. Is this a question?
Not unusual.
Okay,
The song is in my mind.
Sorry.
Thanks, Cliff.
I'm sure Tom Jones hates that already. So unsubscribed. I don't think this is it's not a specific. I'm looking for questions. Let's see.
So
Wes.
I think it was a really valid question, because one of the things that I do in my garden is, because I have raised gardens, right? But I always let my lettuce go to seed, and then next spring there's all kinds of little lettuce plants coming up, and I never have to plant it or buy it again. So he did have a really valid point.
Okay. Okay, cool. Let's we got.
So it was kind of a comment.
Yeah. I've been working on my garden for the past 2 years straight. It's become a long way. My berry plant collection is becoming exotic, and I have been very, very cool. And I've been collecting wild berry plants. 100. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. We have Robert Krober. Grow your own food. How dare you? Yeah, Robert.
I dare.
As you've seen from this live stream already, Craig from Ethical Preparedness keeps getting blocked from this live stream because this is a super controversial topic on YouTube right now. So yes, it's very concerning that we're even talking about this right now. Let's see. We have here's Tom Jones again. I used mirrors once to channel sunlight into a window on my back porch to keep 2 bell pepper plants alive through winter to replant, and they turned into trees with bark. But yeah, so all right, Tom answered the question. Wait, that was your own question? Was that his own question? No, that was a different question. He answered it. Okay, cool.
You can also use aluminum foil on cardboard and position it so it will reflect on back.
Let's see. We have you're just vertical growing. That's
neat.
Shout out.
Yeah, I've always been interested in that.
Yeah. Should we? What are your thoughts, guys?
Vines, anything that vines. I mean, there's tons of vining plants, grapes, passion fruit, lots of vining plants,
Cucumbers.
sweet potato,
tomatoes,
air potato,
squash, melons. Yeah.
Cool.
We have this huge grow tunnel that we planted that we grow everything up the sides and over the top. And it's actually really beautiful, but you can grow a tremendous amount of food over the top of that thing.
Wow. A grow tunnel. Awesome. Is there a video on that? Do you have?
We haven't done a video on it yet.
Okay. All right.
Maybe we should.
We've got pictures.
Stay tuned for the upcoming video of the grow tunnel.
Yeah.
There's so many things to do videos about.
Yeah. There's way too many videos, not enough time to do it. Let's see. I use 5-gallon buckets. All right, and we got it. So that's Texas Rob, 5-gallon buckets. I have a ton of 5-gallon buckets, but I don't have them for plants. Do you guys use them for plants?
We have done it in the past. We've done potatoes and stuff, but we don't use that method at all anymore. But it definitely is an option.
Yeah,
I grow potatoes in buckets. That's probably about the only thing I grow in buckets is potatoes. You could just contain it, keep a lot of pests out of it.
All right.
I do
Dump it when you're
potatoes.
done.
Yeah, dump them in the chicken shed when I'm done.
Easy to pick up too with the handles. So Texas Rob, the correct answer is grow potatoes in the 5-gallon buckets. That's right. Let's see. We have a pallet garden from Andrew. Okay, pallet garden thoughts. I think when they're saying there's a general term that they're curious on our thoughts on it. So
There's quite a bit of
it works for small spaces. A pallet garden works.
Inexpensive.
Yeah.
This might be a question for Prepper Potpourri because we know that she loves her chickens. And is it a good idea to raise chickens on balconies?
Depends.
Excuse me.
The cat heard chicken and it had to get a
cat. I just want you to know that. I would not be for that, nor am I for people that generally keep chickens with napkins or nappies, they call them, so they can keep them inside. I think chickens need areas to roam. You either need a big run or be able to free range them. So a chicken can be a chicken, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I had in the last couple of videos you've been doing your chicken has made cameo appearances in the last few thumbnails I've noticed.
Yeah, yeah. I do a whole series on raising chickens.
And if you haven't started, do it. It's when we lived in a smaller property a few years ago, it's just typical suburban home. We had a little area on the side with chickens, and we let them get out into the main part of the backyard for grass, so they get out there and scratch around. I was amazed at how easy they are. You just pretty much get them up to speed, whether you can put them out, keep them in a little, little hen house and let them out during the day. And they were so easy. And every morning I'd go out there, it's like clockwork. I had 6 chickens, I'd have 6 eggs. And didn't have a rooster, they didn't make noise, and they were so easy.
Yeah,
chickens are very easy. Way less maintenance than a cat or a dog.
Yeah.
Very, very little maintenance.
Ethical Preparedness is raising his hand, I see. So.
I'm not certain how good my mic's working, so I thought I'd raise my hand.
Great, yeah.
If all I had was a balcony, I think I would be afraid to do the chickens because, like Prepper Potpourri said, they do need the space to roam, but also the waste that they're producing. I would think that might make in a smaller enclosed area like that pretty bad. I think if all I had was a balcony instead of doing chickens, I would probably do rabbits instead. Now I know rabbits don't produce eggs like that person's probably wanting
only on Easter,
chickens,
yeah.
but rabbits do. I'm sorry, what?
Only on Easter do they do that. Yeah.
As a fact check.
I think I would, if that's all I had to work with, I think I would go with rabbits.
Are way more efficient for a balcony. I would agree with you on that. I mean, if you have an efficient rabbit operation, you could have rabbit meat every 28 days to some degree. I mean, if you were absolutely efficient with it, you could do that.
The other thing is you could have quail. Quail eggs are small, but so is the quail. So you could keep them in a smaller space.
Cool. This is awesome, by the way. So I got all these great notes. Let's see. By the way, any good tips on earwig control? I seem to be having an infestation, and they're starting to eat my garden alive. Kayleen, I know you probably have an answer right away, but is there anyone?
I'm like, smash them, just smash them. I'm trying to remember because of working with permaculture, the pests are so reduced in my area that they look at him. He's like, yeah, they kind of takes care of each other, except for those squash bugs. But I know there was a liquid that we were putting in the pan, and they would climb into it and drown. But I honestly don't remember what it was because I haven't had to deal with it in so long.
And we did have guinea fowl for 2 or 3 years, and they took care of all kinds of bugs. And chickens would too, but chickens sometimes do a little more damage.
Sometimes?
Well,
no, chickens are horrible in a garden. But the funny thing about the guineas is they were great with the pest control. But for Christmas, my gift to him was to get rid of the guineas. Because they're
very, very noisy.
Very noisy.
Merry Christmas.
A little bit obnoxious.
but they were beautiful to watch. And unlike our chickens won't hatch their own eggs, but the guineas wouldn't. So we'd have all these little batches of guineas running around, and it was a beautiful experience. And the bugs have increased since we have gotten rid of them.
That is true.
The one thing is if you're using mulch, a lot of wood chips, like back to Eden type thing, I think you can get more of the earwigs. I don't use that, but I see it by my house where I use that kind of mulch.
Now I have another question here from Shoestring Prepper. I think we already answered this one. I've always heard that pressure treated wood is bad for raised beds, but now I'm seeing that pressure treated is okay. Which is true in your opinion? So we answered that earlier. The correct answer, we have a Craig from Ethical Preparedness has raised his hand. We're gonna
I will dissent on that. From the research that I've done, I think a lot of it depends on where at in the country that you live at. Because for me to get cedar was insanely expensive, whereas on the West Coast, it might not be. But I think it was going to cost me like $2,000 or something like that to build my garden beds, which I'm a poor government worker, so I can't afford that. So what I really researched is that today's pressure-treated wood does not have nearly the arsenic and the other poisons that were put into it like before. And I've actually seen a video Don't ask me for the link, but I promise you I watched it and really paid attention to it. But they actually took soil tests from their garden beds that were made with pressure treated wood, and the amount of leaching that they found from today's pressure treated wood was absolutely next to nothing. Now, with having said that, pressure treated wood that was done 20 years ago, I would never use because the arsenic and stuff like that was used in it. And I don't know if it's arsenic, but other heavy metals, whatever it is. So it's really my understanding that today's pressure treated wood is fairly safe for us to use. Now, if I was a rich person, yes, I would buy cedar because that's just absolutely 100% more safe. But I would not let the cost. I mean, if you can't afford the cedar, I am not. My raised garden beds are made from pressure treated wood.
All right, cool. We have
and if the truth be told, my raised beds are made from plastic coated compressed kind of wood. The kind that goes around the edges of the garage. And they've been there for 10 years now, and they look the same as the day they were put in. But it was all free. Sometimes we use what we can use because it's free.
I personally, I would just stay away from old pressure-treated wood, tires, car tires, even though that's popular from my understanding, what they are layered with when it gets really hot, that does leach out. And then obviously the old... train wood. Help me.
Railroad
Sorry,
ties.
folks. My son makes big noise outside. I can't do divided attention, but the train thing. So train lock, whatever.
Bring them on the screen. See, we have a question here from Mandy. I'd like to collect rainwater on balcony. Was thinking about a 120-liter rain barrel, but I do not have a drain pipe. Does anyone have tips on how to do it? Now, city prepping, I know you have a rain collection. Do you any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I built a rain harvesting system, and I'm gonna. I just moved. I'll install it back in. But to your question about not having a drain pipe, I mean, unless you have some way to set up a tarp. I don't even know what your balcony is like. I mean, do you have anything above it? Obviously, you're gonna have to have some way to be able to harvest, whether it's a tarp or something. My biggest concern though for you is if you're on a balcony, when you start filling up a rain barrel, it starts getting heavy. You say 120 L. I don't know if you mean
liters.
Yeah.
Liters. Okay, then yeah. I mean, just do the math. I don't know off the top of my head liters. I know gallons. I've got a 250 gallons, so that's by 8 pounds per gallon. So you're pushing nearly 3,000 pounds. So if you're on a balcony, that's going to get heavy really quick. I'm not sure with liters. So nonetheless, I would definitely look at that. But again, you got to have some way to be able to harvest it, whether it's a tarp or something. If an emergency situation were to happen, then you'd probably try that.
Anyone else on this one? All right, next question. Oh, wait, Tori, you have one.
No, water's heavy. He's right. Water is very heavy. I have 1,000 gallons of water storage, but I don't have it on a balcony.
Yeah. Let's see. We have Andrew. What winter crops would you recommend planting? I guess this is probably going to depend. Does this depend regionally at all, or not really? Kayleen, do you have an answer for this one?
Well, in our climate, we cannot grow outside in the winter at all. It's covered with snow. So you're just going to do a greenhouse. And if you have an unheated greenhouse, pretty much you're down to greens. Greens are a wonderful crop for the winter, but unless you've got something that's heated, you're not going to be able to grow much else.
And if you're in the winter, like we are also, your fall crops, your root crops, you might be able to put bales of hay or something on top, or leaves to keep it warm enough that you can still harvest during the winter, but you're not really growing them during the winter.
Yeah, very good point.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see.
So,
sorry.
I was just going to say, these aren't, they think of winter squashes. You might consider winter squashes while they grow during the summer, but they harvest, in fall, and they keep very well, not having to be refrigerated, just in your house throughout the winter. I think we've grown winter squash before, buttercup and butternut squash and stuff like that, and we've harvested them right around Halloween, and we're finishing up the last ones in the spring because they did keep unrefrigerated in our house all winter long.
Yeah.
Can you do a greenhouse though in the winter?
I don't know. I'm ignorant to.
Has anybody? Yeah, I was kind of curious. I'm talking to a company. They want to sponsor me and give me a greenhouse. And I live in Southern Cal in Zone 9B, and
You probably don't need one.
Okay, it gets hot in the summer here where I live, but in the winter, it's mild. So I was debating, whether it's even worth putting in.
Yeah, I live in Zone 8. I'm in South Carolina. We're in a temperate forest that we get like a frost or two per year, so we can grow even subtropical plants. The answer to the question is know your zone. Where do I live? What are my temperature? What's my USDA zone that I live in? And then do some research on your biome. What kind of weather do I have to deal with? You can grow anything in any kind of environment. You just got to do some digging and maybe change what you thought you would eat.
Yeah.
Know your zone.
I was going to say, I'm in Zone 5B, and sure, a greenhouse would be nice, but I would still have to have some way to heat the greenhouse. And you start getting into it, and is it that much work? I started enough plants inside. I don't think you need that for all the extra work. And we just got snow a week ago. We shouldn't have.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Let's see. Again, if you're just hopping on the live stream now, we've already been 45 minutes has already gone. It's been flying by. If you're just hopping on the live stream, we're having a gardening roundtable with a panel of preppers, and it's just been awesome. We're doing rapid fire Q&A. If you have any kind of gardening questions, SHTF gardening, whatever it is, this is the panel to ask. So let's see. We've been taking lots of questions. Here's a quick little shot. Hi from Malaysia. So
I love Malaysia. I've been there 3 times. Love it.
Yes. Is Ruth Stout a good method for easy planting?
She's very well respected. I have read her book, some of them, but I have not really. I think I've incorporated. All gardening has a lot of the same techniques, and they call it different things. If you think of like the Back to Eden garden, that's just a deep mulch garden. They just made a big deal about it. And a lot of them, we all do the same things, but maybe just change something a little. And some of her methods might have been better for, is it English environment? I'm trying to remember, depending on where you live, but all of the main people, the gardeners, all have something to offer. And you just got to try it and see if it works where you live.
Yeah. Let's see, we have Tamara. I have a ton of seeds, but can't afford a lot of soil or starter trays. What are some DIY free ways to successfully start seeds without store-bought soil and trays?
You could germinate them in a plastic bag with a wet paper towel to germinate seeds. That's generally how I germinate most seeds, just to prevent waste. I mean, that's a successful way to start seeds. The same thing you did in kindergarten, put the bean in the bag and tape it up on the window.
Cool.
So then, Tori, do you take that seedling and then you just plant it? Are you planting it directly outside, or are you planting it in a cup inside? What are you doing?
Depending on the time of year, I'll either put it directly, I'll direct sow once it's germinated, or I'll put it in cups if we're in the fall or winter and I'm preparing for spring.
So what kind of loss do you get during the transplant?
Good question. I mean, I do lose things. I tend to overseed. There is some
Well,
loss.
that's okay, right?
Yeah, like 20 or 30%, maybe normal, seed starting loss.
Yeah. Interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Okay,
so,
sorry.
Preparedness has raised his hand. That's
I was raised. My mom beat me a lot as a child, so I raised my hand on me. My family members, a lot of my friends and family, they go out and they buy the tomato plants already started from the local gardening stores and stuff. And so when my friends and family go to throw those little growing pots out, I save them, and that's what I use to actually start my seedlings with. And then I do composting, which is the soil that I use to do my seedlings with. Again, the way I do my gardening, I really try to stay away from doing store-bought dirt stuff. So I do all my composting and stuff like that. So I use that same dirt in those recycled growing pots, and then I, get them started indoors, and then I transfer them out to my garden after we're not going to have any more freeze dates. So hopefully that helps.
Kayleen,
Can I make one more comment?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, so before I started my seedlings indoors, I used a method called winter sown, where you take any type of transparent container, whether it's a milk jug, like a juice thing, or even an ice cream bucket, and you cut the holes appropriately, but you start your seedlings in the bottom of those, and then you just leave it outside, and it'll snow on it, and the weather doesn't matter. You need to make sure you keep it watered if it starts getting really warm. But we've had a lot of success starting seedlings that way. And I usually use a nice mix in there. However, if you've got really good compost, like what he was saying, you could start some in just some compost or some good garden soil, as long as you got to have lots of aeration in it, right? You've got to have lots of good organic matter. But that's I have a video on it, so you might want to look it up.
What's the
I think
video?
we called it Poor Man's Greenhouse.
Let's look really quick. Let's see. We have.
But it is really a good way, just using stuff that other people throw away, because I have to work within a budget, a very small budget.
Oh, I'm gonna see. Poor Man's Greenhouse right there. I'm gonna put a link in the chat room really quick. So let's see. We have. Let me get rid of that. I don't know what this video was, but
Surprise, surprise.
So we had a know your zone. Now we have a question. How do you find out what garden zone you're in?
Google it.
Google.
Just Google it.
Or DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo. Yeah, we could do DuckDuckGo or Bing.
Oh yeah, there you go. DuckDuckGo.
I use DuckDuckGo, but I don't. Let's see. I'm going through. Let me go through the chat room really quick. I've seen. Blah, blah, blah. They're talking amongst themselves. Let's see. Sometimes you can't regrow. Okay. Here we go. Another one from Rachel Rochelle. Is there a book you could recommend that shows how to save your own seeds? You should subscribe to these channels that we have. The links are in the description box below. They provide a lot of information on how you could do this. So make sure you click the link in the description box below. It has a link to all the channels that you're seeing on this roundtable. But is there, in addition to that, is there a book that they should get?
I have a book, but I don't remember the name of it. But
That's what I was going to say. I have several, but I don't remember the name.
But the thing you have to remember is, especially like, let's say you were growing rutabaga, which you should, most people don't, and turnips and things like that, maybe your parsnips, you don't collect the seeds the same year you've planted and did your harvest. It will come back, they're biennial. So it's the next, you have to have enough space to either, if you have the weather, you can keep them in the ground, or you pull them out and then you replant them. So sometimes really seed saving is a 2-year project.
We have another question here. I'll try with a question. Oh, wait. Any luck with expired seeds?
Sure. Yeah, they can work.
Yes.
Fewer percentage of them that will grow. I mean, if you have like a 90% success rate with the seeds, first year seeds, the next year you just get a fewer percentage of them. That's been my experience.
I've had a video interesting on a food bank storage type canister. And how old was it when you tried germinating?
Ours, it was packaged for 2012. So it's 8 years old, and we're still in the last phases of that experiment. But it's interesting. Some of the germination rates went down to 0, and some of them were still very, very high. So, and it is really interesting because, like the radishes that we planted, when we did the germination test on the napkin, right, in the Ziploc bag and all that, the germination test was okay, but actually out in the garden, it was really lousy. And then we had other things like the butternut squash that wouldn't germinate in the napkin. I'm going to call it the napkin test, but it's the paper towel with the plastic bag. So butternut squash did horribly, but I had a 50% germination rate when I actually took them out and planted them in these pots. I've got that next video coming out, but it was kind of interesting to me. Newer seeds are going to be better, but some seeds like tomato seeds will last for so long, but others won't. So,
all right, I'm skipping ahead a little bit in the chat to try to get us more current with what's going on. I'm about 20 minutes behind on the chat room. How to start as a noob? Is there a go-to book? Well, again, make sure you subscribe to all the channels that are listed here.
I think we should all just give our favorite book for a noob. My favorite is Carrots Love Tomatoes by Luis Riot. And it's a companion planting guide, and it describes every vegetable and what they grow well with. So my first book for any gardener would be Carrots Love Tomatoes by Luis Riot. Great book, lots of information, jam-packed with what plants you can put together, what plants grow well together, what plants don't grow well together, the properties of plants. Really good visual reference guide.
Cool. And we also had that book that was recommended earlier, A Guide to
Gaia's Garden.
Field.
Yeah, Gaia's Garden's a good one.
Yeah, check that one out. We have that link there. This is cool. Let's how about we do a really quick what is the best way to keep weeds under control? That's from Alpha Prepping.
Plants, do permaculture. The more
learn how to work
have,
with the
less
weeds.
You have. Yeah.
Yeah, learn how to work with the weeds or how to overgrow the weeds. So a big one for me, learning how to outgrow the grass was, well, what's a ground cover? Because a grass is a ground cover. Grass is only growing to try to cover the earth. So if I were to pull up the grass, I needed to put something that would cover the earth, that would spread like the grass. That's when I fell in love with mint. Mint spreads, and it
Sure does.
chokes
Me
out
too.
grass. So, lemon balm. All these things. I grow these mints and these herbs as ground covers because they take over. They do cover the ground. They do spread, and they take up the function of the grass. Weeds are giving you an indicator of what's going on in your soil too. So you want to know what weeds are growing on your site.
Awesome.
I was going to say one other thing is it depends on how you kind of start your garden. But I once made the mistake of using horse manure from the neighbor, which sounded great. I had so many weeds grow from that. Now I use my rabbit manure and my chicken manure, which is just great. But depending on how you start, if it has seeds stuff in it, you're going to have a heck of a lot of weeds and more problems. And also, if you just dig up grass and start your garden, the grass will come back. You'll have a problem. But you got to dig way deep if you're going to do that.
We have an interesting question here. Any ideas on garden security from a small plot, chicken coop, and neighbors in close proximity? Garden security, do we have? I know that my wife hates, she loves having the deer nearby, but they decimate her gardens all the time. So,
Craig, I know you got some security ideas.
Yes.
It sounds like that they're worried about that if things get worse and if they have food in their backyard gardens and chickens, that they're worried about neighbors coming and taking their food. That's what I'm getting of their question. So, obviously, nothing beats an actual human eye watching it. So if things get that bad where people are stealing other people's food, you probably want to take shifts if they're married or have other people living in the house. But then also you got all those sound things that make sounds that you can buy pretty cheap now in the stores, where basically they're meant to be put on your windows in your house, that when you open the window, it starts making a shrieking noise. So that would be good to be put on your gates and stuff like that. And then if they got a lot of money, then they can obviously put cameras facing, overwatching their garden area, where they can actually watch the monitors inside. But, in my case, I would put the noisemakers on points of entryways. And then I would also, in this case, I would probably sleep during the day, and I would keep watch over the food at night while my wife slept at night, and we would take shifts like that. So that would be personally what I would do.
Great Pyrenees mountain dog. People were so scared when we had Harley. His dad made over 150 pounds. He was a lovable dog, but very good at guarding from other animals, but also people were just scared by the size of the dog. He was a very good guard dog.
Let's see. Another question. Hands
Sorry.
up.
So one of the things that I do is I'm really into edges and borders because of permaculture. So on my garden, the whole place is fenced, but I'm growing goji berries, some that we had gotten from Tibet that are really high, 6 to 8 feet high. And it creates this real thick, dense hedge that people really can't see through. It protects the garden wind-wise, right? It's a nice windbreak, but it's also thorny. And so while, yes, somebody could theoretically climb over it, there would be so much pain and suffering involved in that they would deserve whatever they took out of my garden, right? So sometimes it's the physical barriers, and it's making sure that like those edges that you're growing something, right? That's the rabbits love the goji berry leaves, right? We cut off little branches and feed it to them, and they grow like crazy. But some of those, if we're just creative, black raspberries are a great barrier too, because they hurt. But
And we have really made it a point to involve our community and to get plants and trees out to people,
to our neighbors,
so that they can take care of themselves, so that they can have their own garden. Obviously, some people don't want to do that, but to the extent we can, we've helped people get their own gardens and orchards started.
Because the more they can do on their own, the safer we are.
That's where I am right now. I've been gardening and doing the permaculture thing for 6 years. I'm now helping other people in my community do it. So I have that backup to know that, oh, well, I've got 3 acres over here I'm working on, and an acre over here I'm helping out with.
That's awesome.
I'm more outward instead of worrying about securing my own food security. I'm less attached to it even more now that I'm helping other people.
It's a wonderful thing.
For my peace of mind and security is knowing what's growing around me too, learning wild edibles. If you know what's growing just in your front yard, what kind of weeds are edible, you'll have a lot more security. Oh, is that nut tree over there? I can eat those nuts. Or is that wild blackberries on the side of the road? I mean, you'll really start to have an abundant thinking when you start to learn all the food around you.
Yeah. So we're at the hour mark. I know that we were kind of aiming for this, so maybe we should do a few more questions. I know you guys have things to do and plants to plant, and you have to fight off some deer. And I know that Prepper Potpourri has some hybrids and plant abortion stuff going on. So
Planned Parenthood. Plant Parenthood.
You can donate now.
Hey, it's your plants. It's your choice, you know.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
We're all going to hell.
Let's do a few more questions.
I see a good question in the chat. Actually, somebody's been asking about hydroponics and aeroponics.
That's the one I was trying to get one.
I've seen it a couple times, and I mean that's really good. And I'll give you my experience. My experience is when I actually lived in California, and I grew herbs with friends in cabinets. So we learned a lot about high pressure sodium lights and.
Wait a minute.
Where I am now in my life is realizing that that's a lot of into the grid. You know, if the power goes out, your garden is gone and down. So that's very high intensive kind of thing. It's good. Aquaponics, hydroponics, those are all good things for growing food. I think that they're great hobbies. I certainly don't look at it as a way to maybe provide a huge food supply, especially if the power goes out and you're in a grid down scenario. If you don't have power, well, now your lights are out, and how are you going to take care of this garden? It dies very quickly, believe it or not. And I've been through hydroponics and aeroponics and aquaponics too, which is a really good one. If you can get an aquaponics system off the grid, you know, using solar power and battery operated pumps, aeroponics is good. Money. It costs money. Here again, I don't have a government job, but I'm not putting my money into hydroponics or aeroponics. It's cheaper to get heirloom seeds and learn how to work with nature. Nature is the best gardener. Just kind of work with nature and you'll find the food.
Further go in on that, even if you've got the solar to run your hydroponics and stuff like that, eventually that stuff breaks down. You know, if you're depending on that to feed you after an SHTF event. So I'm just further going on with what you're saying. I completely agree.
It's a great hobby. I like it. It's a great hobby, but I wouldn't rest my whole food supply on something like that. I'm going to put a lot of money into it.
This is one I was curious about. So, what do you guys think about companion gardening? Hints for what will grow together.
The book I suggested earlier was all about companion planting. Carrots Love Tomatoes by Louise Riot. And no, she's not paying me. I'm not getting any kickbacks from Louise Riot. I really just love her book. Like, it really opened my eyes to companion planting, the square foot gardening style, and how closely I could put things together. I mean, with companion planting, you can grow tomatoes right at the base of a carrot. You can grow carrots right at the base of a tomato, and they'll be just fine growing together. So I learned a lot about square foot gardening, companion planting from one book, Carrots Love Tomatoes, and it's the great new book.
Cool.
So yesterday I planted onions with my tomato plants, also carrots, marigolds also. Just again, so just how much food can you get in one space? The more food you can grow in it's instead of a tomato here and onions over here, if you can combine them together, that's just double the food in half the amount of space.
Oh, so before we leave, well, people seem to like the show so much that they like the plant. They're liking the plant parenthood. Funny. Looks like Mama Bear has just popped on really quick. We were trying to get Mama Bear on earlier. Mama Bear, do you have the link, or do you want to just say hi? Well, hi, Mama Bear. We hope that the kiddo you're able to get to sleep. And again, make sure you subscribe to Mama Bear Preparedness too. Her link's in the description box as well. Let's see.
I like the guerrilla gardening idea somebody's asked, because I've been saying that earlier, knowing that a lot of your viewers are in a more urban area. Guerrilla garden. Go out in the community, find out where you can put stuff. What's growing that's edible? Can I take it down and replace it with something that is edible? Take out the non-edibles, replace them with edibles. Guerrilla gardening is going to be something you're really going to want to learn about, especially in an urban environment. Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, New York. Where are the open spaces where there's some dirt to get my hands in? Or how can I spread, things? It's guerrilla gardening is. I'm a big proponent of it because it's how I learned what wild edibles are. I mean, better to just learn the wild plants that grow in your zone and to help them spread.
Mama Bear's still trying to get the kid to sleep, so that's you keep up the good fight. Looks like putting up the fight today. All right. A couple final questions. Again, if you guys have been enjoying this gardening roundtable, I've been having a blast. It just flew by. And we had a lot of fun moments, and we got a lot of information and a lot of book recommendations. Let's do if you guys like this style format, let me know, and we'll try to do more of this. I feel like we've just kind of scratched the surface on this, and this seems like a topic that's we could just talk about all the time on this, because there's always things to learn, and it's nice to be able to bounce around ideas with all these awesome panelists. So really cool. So a couple final questions. Oh, let's see. Anna says, make sure to smash that like button, y'all. So if you guys like this live stream, make sure that you smash the button, the like button. Smash it really hard and aggressively, and also make sure that you are subscribed to all the channels that are included in the description box below. If you are not subscribed, I have an algorithm going. I've been working with Google on this. You will immediately be unsubscribed from my channel if you do not subscribe to all of these channels that are linked in the description box. And I see that Craig from Ethical Preparedness has another question. I saw his hand raised politely. So.
I was just going to say about Anna Lee Brown there. She's going to be one of if she subscribes to your channel, she's going to be one of your best subscribers. She's just a real positive thing for your channel and for the other people that's on your channel. So
awesome. So shout out to Anna Lee Brown. Leah Brown.
There was a question about grow bags, and
I saw that.
Heather does some, but also Texas Prepper too, I think, because down in Texas, depending where you are, water is a premium. And so he does things in the self-watering buckets and the grow bags, and he has a lot of success. And I mean, he does a lot of it. He's like a farmer. So that's a channel to check out.
Okay, cool. So I was trying to find that comment. It's lost in a whole bunch of other comments. So let's do final question. This is from Tiger Mom. Is any ideas on Groundhog Deterrent?
My husband uses a 22.
More snakes? You need more snakes in your area.
More snakes.
I just put hardware cloth at the bottom of all my beds. Before I even put in the soil, because I'm like, if I'm going to spend all this time and money building these things and then come out one morning and there's a bunch of holes, what was the point of all this? So it's a little extra money for sure, but I've known people that have spent a lot of money on gardens and getting pretty far into it and come back a month or so and everything's cleared out. So I just do that preemptively.
In 2 hours, one groundhog can just about devastate, and they'll bite stuff and then drop it.
It's like squirrels. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just terrible. I have hardware cloth also on the bottom, but occasionally we have a 6-foot deer fence also, but occasionally there's a hole they get in. They can do a lot of damage. Mm-hmm. Usually we trap them and then try to release them so it's some other farmer's problem. But That's my approach, but my husband has a little bit different approach. Yeah.
Okay. I said that was final question, but this one looked really good too. And because we have a lot of preppers that are probably watching this or may watch a little bit later. How much land do you think someone would need for a family of 4 to grow enough food that you can dehydrate long-term survival? So this will be the real final question of this gardening roundtable. So for all the preppers out there who have an interest in long-term survival and want to be doing the gardening and stuff like this, what do you guys think they would need to have?
So have you seen the videos from 10th Acre Farm in California? These people, I think it was like 1/4 of an acre, but their amount of food that they produce is only on the 10th of an acre, and they supply all kinds of restaurants, and they are able to feed their family. They've just used the land very, very wisely. So you can do a lot with a very, very small space, as long as you're working really smart and allowing nature to work with you, because they even have goats and they have chickens, and they're supporting their family using that. So 10th Acre Farm, I would Google it, and you'll be able to see some of the great things that they've done.
So Google 10th Acre Farm. Anyone else have it?
Isn't that what it's called? 10th Acre Farm, I'm pretty sure.
Well, and they're in California, and you in California,
they
you're
are
a little luckier. If you're in Michigan, you probably need more land, and I would suggest you also have nut trees and maybe fruit trees, and it would be nice to have rabbits or whatever you have room for, and chickens also, because just vegetables that you dehydrated and grow in your garden, if you're going to be vegetarian, you really need at least the nuts and legumes. You need to have more than what the traditional gardener usually plants.
Cool. Well, this has been an awesome roundtable. I think this is a thank you for everyone that's been participating, not only in the chat room, but for our panelists of guests. This has just been really cool. Really quick, City Prepper. Looks like Travis says hi. He says, "What's up?" So I have to give that quick shout out. So, so again, this has been a real treat for me. I'm hoping it's been a treat for everyone that's been tuning into this one and providing all the chat room. And this video will live up on YouTube for as long as you want to reference it later, because I think there's a lot of great content that we covered on this one. And I'd love to do something like this again. I thought this was a blast, and it went by too fast. Would you guys be willing to come on again for a roundtable down the road?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be a blast. So cool. So everyone, again, make sure you subscribe to all the channels. We put a lot of different various book recommendations out there. I included some of those in the chat room. I'm looking at the Carrots Love Tomatoes, highly recommended by Permaculture Homestead. It's not an affiliate link either. It's just I just gave the straight up. But yeah, there's a lot of different books that we've recommended. A lot of different places to buy seeds. We talked about True Leaf Market for their seeds. I think that was recommended by Kylene. Again, make sure you subscribe to Prepper Potpourri, subscribe to Permaculture Homestead, subscribe to Ethical Preparedness, subscribe to the Provident Preppers, and you're already subscribed to City Prepping. But we already know that. So again, thanks a bunch for all the panelists. Thanks again for everyone that's tuned into this live stream. Leave your comments below in the comment section regarding this. Subscribe to all the channels, and this has been an absolute blast. So thank you everyone for participating, and
thank you.
I think it's time to sign out.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.